You guys, I'm so funny. I do that every time. I put the thing back on instead of coming on live. Hello and welcome. I'm Sue Ann with Right Mix for Business, and you're watching The Marketing Mirror. And I'm so happy to be back today. I missed, as some of you know, last week. It's been a very, very rough time around here. I've been struggling a little bit the last couple of weeks with some trauma, personal stuff, and so but I didn't want to. The show must go on, and I have the most spectacular guest today for you guys. So welcome. Thank you, everybody, for so many of you being so supportive of the show. And again, me trying to be brave and come on live, which I'm not fond of. I'm the magic behind the curtain with my magic pen writing. But today I'm going to introduce you to Marcy Clark of MarcyClarkPR, because we want to know, how can public relations help us in the digital space? Where does it belong in digital? So get ready, guys, because I'm going to knock you over with this bio that I did for Marcy. Let's welcome her. Here comes a little intro first. The role of public relations in a digital world. That's today's feature with Marcy Clark. So today we're going to meet Marcy Clark of MarcyClarkPR. Marcy is a communications veteran bringing 2 decades of proven experience to her clients, specializing in public relations and branding. She has a distinct and unique ability to create signature, innovative, and experiential events sure to leave guests swooning. Prestigious venues, highly respected placements, and media buzz are all in a day's work for this personable and experienced pro, but perhaps most of his clients. Placements secured include well-established media outlets such as the New York Times, Time Magazine, the Wall Street Journal, the Washington Post, Reuters, US Today, the Oprah Magazine, Town and Country, Food and Wine, Vanity Fair, Harper's Bazaar, Glamour, Elle, Vogue Business, Time Out New York, BuzzFeed, Pure Wow, Well and Good, Goldcast, NPR, NBC, CBS, ABC, Bloomberg Radio, the Financial Times, and others. As a seasoned media training and public speaking facilitator, Marcy is the creator of Sacred Branding, Storytelling for Business, and Public Speaking for Visionaries workshops. From New York to Austin to Dubai, Marcy's campaigns, experience, workshops, and events are memorable and buzzworthy. Wellness, mindfulness, health and beauty, and mission-driven business thinking are all in her wheelhouse. Plus, she's a certified yoga instructor, giving her the chance to integrate yoga and wellness experiences, culture and yoga retreats, and much more, from the rooftops in Capri to upscale venues, or even to a lingerie trade show in Los Angeles. From a 500-person New York Fashion Week events to intimate Vermont press retreats, Marcy Clark events are known for authenticity, community building, and the pure joy of learning in good company. In your public relations needs, Marcy Clark PR is exactly what you're looking for. So what did I tell you guys? We've got the greatest girl here today, public relations with a twist and with some extras. And I can't wait to bring on Marcy Clark with Marcy Clark PR. You're watching the Marketing Mirror because everything you do reflects your business and brand. Sorry for the rough start, you guys, but I'm so glad I started that over and you got the whole sound. You had to have the sound, right? Okay. Hi, Marcy. So happy you're here. Welcome.
Hi. Oh my God. Thank you so much for that, Suhan. That was amazing. I was like, dancing over here to your beat. And
I'm still practicing my video skills.
Yeah, it's kind of surreal because, a lot of times for us in the marketing world, right, it could be a little bit of like a cobbler's shoes, right? Like I don't always have, right now, actually, I just redid my website. I have been investing, I'm doing another website that I want called The Visionary Mafia. I want to interview you for that. And, I've been investing in my own marketing, practicing what I preach, but normally, sometimes I have not had a commercial made for my accomplishments like this before. And I'm really touched, and especially I know you had such a hectic and crazy week, and so I just really appreciate you. Thank you. Oh, I can't hear you.
I'm sorry. I'm just still getting used to my new mic too. Jody Krangle, shout out, voiceover girl. I'm still learning, I'm still honing my video skills. And of course, my live streaming skills could use a little help too. but I think that the fact that we can all learn together, oops, I have the L and A mixed up there, but Marcy Clark PR. But there's so many interesting things that we can learn from each other. So I'm kind of digging these interviews where I get to talk to interesting people and learn about things that they're doing. And I love that you're doing something new. It seems like you're always doing something new. And that's another thing I love about Marcy. She shares as you guys know, a vision of that creativity and being creative in what you produce, whether it's events or anything, is so important. So thank you again for being here, Marcy.
Yeah, my pleasure.
So what do you think the role of a public relations is in today's digital world?
Let's see. I think, it's kind of, to me, I think it's essential, because I think, we're all trying to break through, right? We're all trying to have the right graphics, the right, kind of interesting way of saying, how how great our company is, how important it is, right? So I think it's so special and important that we use the media and media placements to amplify ourselves. So I call it a third-party endorsement. So if you are just by yourself, just pumping out information about yourself, and you don't have that third party endorsement that the New York Times article or the Forbes, or if you have another outlet saying how great you're doing, that makes all of the difference. So people a lot of times, well, there you are. Okay. I'm kind of
still
not as
here.
good. I'm better when I'm talking to you and not just talking to myself. I'm like, I get distracted.
I know I have the same thing, like looking at the camera. I'm like, whoa, looking at 1,000 things. But my one friend who's like a really seasoned live streamer, he has trouble looking at the camera too. And so it makes me feel a little better because it's
I
weird.
think
Like,
I'm just not a narcissist, So I'm like, I want to look at you, talk to
I know.
you.
I
And I
know.
feel like I get, but
I
what
like showcasing my guests a little bit too. That's what I was really trying to do.
I know. But basically, to what I was saying is, it's like public relations is, just to kind of take it back to the start. Public relations is it's I specialize in earned media. So, under the umbrella of public relations is, some brand strategy, media training, right? But also, and advertorial where you're paying for placement that could be under there. But my specialty is really reaching out to the media and saying, hey, editor at the New York Times, arts, you really need to write about my client. It's their 40th anniversary of this dance company. They're amazing. They've won MacArthur Awards, this, that, the other. Here's why they're amazing. Do you want to have an interview, right now? So that is, and then securing that interview. And I'm not paying the New York Times. They're not paying us. It's securing media, earned media is securing media based on the newsworthiness of your client. And my role is to help draw out what is newsworthy. And, some clients, they have a lot that really would make them newsworthy, and others I have a process, kind of a
You have to pull out their story somehow.
just tease it out. Which you know a lot about that, right? So
Right. For ghostwriting too. You have to get the feel of that person in business. Yeah, Jim is here. There's another Jim here, and Video Gizmos. Thank you for popping in. I really appreciate it. Again, so many people have been so supportive of the show, so it's so fun. If you guys have questions, please let us know. Marcy is here for a little while to talk to us and answer any of those burning questions that you might have. So how do you prevent negative PR from happening? Your whole business model and approach is your brand, so you have to probably be very careful about that negative PR. What do you say?
Okay, so my soapbox is that every serious company should have a PR trained marketing or media professional on their board, right? Or at the very least in their C-suite, because and there should be regular how to be PR savvy, how to be social media aware. All of that should be for the whole company, because everybody needs to understand kind of what are some actions that you really don't want to take that could hurt the company. And it's important for people to understand how an action that a company takes that seems like just their personal drama, how quickly that can, if it's exposed to the media, how quickly sometimes that can blow up. And I think a lot of times companies make a mistake of, in terms of, I call it like, how do you scandal proof your company? Like, it's not possible to really have, once you bring a large group of people together. Oh, yeah, I can't hear you. But once
I was saying you can't control everything, so
you
it's
can't
kind
control everything, but you can be savvy, you could be smart. And once you bring a large group of, of humans together, there's going to be some conflicts, things like that. But if you think about, not just, okay, how do we resolve this conflict within the organization, but imagine if later this became, how we are treating this became a big news story. How should we handle it appropriately in light of that? It's that lens, that critical lens that you have to put on things,
right. You have to see the future in a way, and to future proof, you have to have an idea of what could go wrong. It's sort of having contingency plans maybe, or
Right.
backup
And
and punt.
if there's something that happens that's bad, that's, oh my gosh, that's a potential scandal once, it's like, you get on that right away. Right now,
I
like,
was just going to ask you that. Should you respond right away, or is it better like just be quiet and let it die down? Is that ever the case?
it really depends. But I mean, I think if there's something, like where, I don't know, right now in the news, I don't know a ton about it, right? I'm not a big Lunchables, or there's some other product that was on a few different podcasts, and a lot of people said they got like a moldy lunch thing, and it's probably, I don't know how the company really recovers from this, but it's like once you have that first one, it's like recall, apologize, offer a remedy, like offer an explanation, take responsibility, right? So a good example, like a case study of like the worst example of what not to do, I would say would be Hertz Rent-A-Car.
Right.
So a few years ago, this was, I don't know, maybe 5 years ago or so, there was a big scandal that came out that was like people were saying Hertz. And because what had happened was they had an internal policy that they should have realized pretty quickly was problematic, because what was happening was, if people if a car was returned late, right, was not returned within, and it was not marked returned within, checked back in within 24 hours, they had an automatic thing, not an employer saying, hey, this car is stolen. An automatic thing went to the police, putting out an APB that there was a stolen car.
Oh
So
my
a
goodness.
lot of situations happened where maybe somebody had called and an extension that didn't get logged in. Someone, there was human error, right? Somebody didn't check the car in. Maybe they didn't press, confirm that last screen. I don't know. Human error happens. And people were arrested outside. They were pulled over on the road. They were
Oh
arrested
my
outside of their
goodness.
business, handcuffed in front of their colleagues,
You
fired.
would think there would be a grace period for something like that, no matter, like to put in something that rigid feels
24
like,
hours police report. I mean, it's a terrible policy from go, because I mean, if I was in the room when they were talking about that, I would have said, hey, if that went wrong though,
yeah,
like,
who are you going to alienate
could there be
with
a
that?
check? If that goes wrong, we could get sued. There could be a scandal. Like, somebody should have said that from go. But then beyond that, it was like the stories that came out, there were over like 300. I don't know, there was a class action lawsuit. One
Oh my,
woman was pregnant and she was in jail because nobody knew what was happening. It was very confusing. And because it's a car, it's like grand theft, So
oh my God,
it
that's
was,
unreal. Trauma
yeah,
to the
she was in
child.
jail for 2 months and she had a newborn baby she was breastfeeding at home.
That's unbelievable.
I mean, yeah. So,
That has
this
gone,
is,
that's a case where it went really wrong. But did they recover? I mean, I wonder if anyone's looked at their, before and after.
yeah, that would be a great, I should find that out. I mean, there's such a huge brand that I think they have, and people go, you pull up, a lot of people just price check and they
Here's what
get what's
I
the
say.
best
I
deal.
say some people thrive in spite of their self. They like do bad business and they're a pain to
Yeah.
work with, but whatever it is, they thrive in
I mean,
spite of
I
their own.
personally I'm not gonna hire a Hertz Rent-A-Car after that, like,
Oh
if I can
no.
avoid it, I'm like, I'm going to the
Right.
other counter. They own a few companies, so, anyway, it's not a perfect role, but I'm just saying that's something where they could have prevented. Once it was out, what they should have done was take full responsibility. They did some CYA, type PR responses, but they should have taken full responsibility, immediately tried to settle and give proper payments to the people that were hurt. They should have,
Yeah, I don't
you
even
know,
know if that's
a CEO
recoverable as some of those.
resigning. Yeah.
cases, like I don't even know if you could pay me enough to pull me from my child I'm breastfeeding. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, so anyway, I mean, that's like the worst, that's a worst case example, but I just always say it's like as well, if you have a colleague, if there's somebody in the office who's kind of a bully or a sexual harasser or something like that, if that comes out, um, then it's like you want to think about, are we handling this in a way that's
oops,
appropriate?
your mic went away.
Oh, it did?
Did you
How about
bump
now?
something?
I didn't change anything.
Crazy.
How about now?
I'm not hearing you, but let's put Jim
Oh.
Fuse up while we try to figure out what's up with her audio. Worst case scenario, Marcy, you might have to leave the studio and come back in. I'll carry on for a second. If it doesn't just the other thing is if you're on a Windows system, still nothing.
No.
If you're on a Windows system, you might have to make sure your setting for sound goes to the mic you're using.
Okay.
Oh, we have audio. So other people are hearing you, just not me. Okay, that's cool. Maybe. I don't know exactly how we have the conversation, but we'll keep trying because we're just, we just make these live events work. So did anyone ever tell Marcy that she is a Drew Barrymore doppelganger? That's a great
I have heard that
comment.
a lot. Yeah.
Thank you guys for telling me. We have audio.
Hi, Lee.
There's
Hi,
my friend
Jamie.
Lee. He helps me with my production, and he's been down with a cracked rib and some other things. So it's really nice that he's here. Thanks, Lee.
Yeah,
Jamie's here. Hi, Jamie. She can hear both of us. That's great. Okay. So I'm going to take me off for a second as I feed you this next question, Marcy, and plug my plug in because I might have forgot one plug. I'm having one of those days. But I'll feed you this next question, let you take over, plug in, and maybe sound will come back for me. Where does public relations, I think you touched on this a little bit at the beginning, but where does public relations fit into the marketing mix?
Okay. Yeah. So public relations is, if you think about it as an umbrella, right? So there's marketing is a big umbrella, right? You've got, the CEO, right? You have your sales, your strategy, your your partnerships, all of that. Marketing is under the umbrella of marketing can include, you can have your PRs under that, branding, right? Graphic and written branding. You would have under that your partnerships that are, meant to increase your outreach. You would have under that, you'd have, advertorials, digital marketing, all of that. So PR is the piece where, you're reaching out to bloggers, you're reaching out to, nowadays people do PR with social media influencers where they're sending them ideas, they're sending them, story angles, they're sending them product and in exchange for coverage, right? So that's, under PR is magazines, newspapers, podcasts, right? So with that, hey, Sue Ann. So anyway, under PR, you have this big umbrella. I would say, the best way to use PR is, to look at it, in a few different ways. One is that the outlets that you secure, if you secure an article in the Washington Post, in the Time, then use that for your digital marketing and have it go, out to, as part of your advertising. So use, don't just use it as the funnel you get directly from the publication, because that has a shorter life, but use it on your website as the third-party endorsement that helps turn that interest into a sale, and then use it in your outreach to also help with that. Oh, Lee, that's a really good question. Why does PR have a bad rap as a fixer instead of branding?
Lee has a great question, and I'm listening to you on my phone. so
Okay.
that I can at least hear what you're saying, because I am not getting you. I've tried everything. Go ahead, Lee.
Okay. So, yeah, Lee, I love this question because it is a pet peeve of mine. And I think honestly, why PR has this rap is because of film and television, because it's very dramatic to show. We like to imagine, a lot of times we're seeing PR from the perspective of, Hollywood and celebrities and people with lots of power. Like, oh, you want the interview with my client, well, you have to kill this other story. And you hear people, yeah, remember this favor you owe me, do it now, hang up the phone. And so you have these kind of bad girl or nasty, personas for, in the portrayed in the media. Or you have the maybe the other stereotype that I've seen, like maybe the PR girl in the Hallmark movie, right? Who she goes and with, she's super efficient, gets everything done, has one brilliant idea, or like the Emily in Paris, type thing, right? Oh my God, I have this amazing tagline. And, boom, it's a whole campaign and the day is saved and the company is saved forever. And I think Sue Ann would agree with me. It's just kind of like, it's kind of laughable. Like, you can't, it's not just, oh, here's a great tagline. There's a lot of elbow grease. There's, public relations. There's the outreach to all the publications. There's the incorporating that message into your content, working with someone like Sue Ann. There's creating, visual pieces, written pieces, and then getting it in front of all of the right people. So it's yeah, it's very funny to me that, it has that, oh, I have this scandal, can I fix it? But the other thing I'll say, Lee, is that, there are people that their specialty is, okay, a crisis happened. How do we get past that? And
Right. It's about so much more.
yeah,
So much more.
there's people
that
that
actually leads to my next question. Are you hearing me?
Mhm.
This is a little awkward. I hope we're doing okay with the craziness.
I can hear you.
Sorry, you guys. So here's my next question. This is so funny. So how do you, this is a great question, because you guys, this is the one, she's talking about all these great places. I introed her in the bio with all these great places, but how do you secure these highly distinctive placements in premier publications and media for your clients? I have a feeling you have to hone relationships for a minute there to get the kind of stuff that you get. What do you have to say?
Okay. So, sometimes it is a case of where I know somebody and that, that relationship I've built over time, it has them open my email or forward it to the person that does cover that angle and it helps. But I would say it's an experience and a skill issue. So, um, at the beginning of my career, I got, occasional article, I got some articles in publications, especially in trade publications, but it wasn't right away that I was getting, big publications. The first big story I got, I remember, for a client was um in the US. I got some in I worked in England for a little bit first, but in the US was I got a half a page in the New York Times. And what I did with that, what worked about it, was for a kitchen designer. And I pitched an exclusive, so I knew how to do that, right? And how to do that ethically. You really have to how to pitch it. You have to give them enough time to respond. You have to give them a window, and offer right of first refusal. It's like decorum, right? And then I pitched it as the kitchen designer's personal kitchen, a lot of the highlights,
There's
what
a
it was
lot
going to
more
have.
to it than people think, is what
Yeah, so
one the
it's a
first lesson.
skill, it's a skill thing. It's doing it in a polite, really professional way, and it's how you approach them. Now, as well, when I'm pitching, like recently I did a comedy festival that was touring the country. And for that, I got them Boston Globe, New York Times, I got him Cron 4 in San Francisco and Standard. I got him publications all around the country. But it was my first time getting a Vanity Fair article. So that was really exciting, right? Because it was an entertainment client, and that was great. And I didn't have a contact there, but I pitched the story in a way that really showed like the import of what they were doing, how seminal it was. And I didn't pitch just once. Like, I pitched a lot of different people with different personalized angles. So, this is not a newsletter, right? It's actually, a lot of people don't know, it's illegal to add media to your newsletter. So do not add journalists to your MailChimp. It's illegal. You have to
I love your insights.
Yeah.
Very, very straight on. It takes work and effort. It's not just a one size fits all, and not everyone can do it. And I really like Lee's next question, because I think it's a perfect question after the last or after what you've just been talking about, because that's all seems so big. So what happens when here's his question. So what happens when you're working with a small company? Can a small company, well, he's saying, can a small company even afford PR? I'm thinking further, how does a small company use PR? Do they go about it in the same way as these bigger event things, like not everybody's like part of New York Fashion Week or something great that you do? Can you talk about that, please?
Yeah. So, so you have a great question, Lee. And I will say, how does a small company or person afford PR? It is a business that costs money, right? So it is something that does cost money, because it's time consuming for people like myself. And for personal branding. Yeah, I see. So it is something that, it's not an inexpensive marketing piece of the marketing investment. But I will say, like, if you go and you start calling PR firms and you're talking to folks that, it's a big firm and their specialty is tech clients and, apps and startups. I mean, I've done a lot of that, but if you're talking to them and they're like, yeah, our minimum is 8K or 10, or 20K or something, that they're not the one for you when you're starting out, and that's fine. There's a lot in between. So, there's people like myself. I work with a lot of startups. I work with a lot of people that it's for their personal branding. They're a coach, something like that. And so I have clients that they're, paying me for a 15-hour a month plan or something like that. And I'm doing, some writing, I'm doing some outreach, and we start with doing a few months together, and I have a lot of clients, maybe a, mid-sized company, small or growing, a few people in it, and they're growing and they have something they're launching, they're excited about. And we start with, hey, let's start with 4 months at, 3 to 5K a month or something, or, 2,500 if it's a, feel good, cause related startup. So I hope that, it gives people an idea, like it doesn't have to be crazy expensive. I will say though, you have to pre-qualify people. If you're talking to PR people, you want to make sure they have a real significant number of placements under their belt, and that they have the tools that are needed to get you that same kind of press, right? It wasn't, so they asked them, do you have the Cision media database? Or, do you have a media database? What tools are you using? What media list do you have at your fingertips? Because it's very important that they have that. And they're not only like doing, you ideally want somebody who's not just doing podcasts or just doing, only reaching out to social media influencers. That's that's something else and that's valuable, but that wouldn't be a whole PR campaign. Hmm. Thanks, Lee.
I love your insights. You are awesome. I am so thrilled that we have you today. I love the questions that you're answering. I wanted to give a shout out to my friend Chris Stone. Chris is an awesome producer. Chris, I hope you're proud of me today, because I'm doing this show with all kinds of things going crazy, and I'm keep plugging. I can't hear Marcy. I have to turn off and go listen to her on my phone, and then come back on and try not to talk over. It's like being a tricky day. So my guys like Chris Stone and Lee Love and you guys who do production, I hope that I'm still doing you some justice, trying to keep it going. But also, I think that we couldn't have a better guest today. And like Lee said, thank you, because you have great perspectives and insights. And I think we're all learning from what you have to say today. Let me see if we had something else that we wanted to cover before we have to go. So this is one that's important to me, and I know Lee will love this question too, because he's my creative buddy. So how do you devise and or imagine creative, unique, and appropriate events to suit clients while promoting excitement around their innovations and trends? Like, how do you keep being like a trendsetter and doing new things instead of doing the same old things? And
Okay.
I love this, Lee. It will always go wrong. Thank you, especially in my life. Especially in my life. Just going to throw that out there. Okay, I'll let you take over. Do I need to say that question again? Or are you still with me? Okay.
Again.
All right. I'm going to jump. I'm going to just silence me and go.
Okay. So, yeah. So, before I started, before I went freelance and I had my own PR firm, I had a business partner in New York, and I had as well a firm that was I had a social media club that was called Women's Mafia. So this social club in New York, my whole thing was doing the most creative events that I could, and getting people, bringing people together, having them bond, having them feel like it's fun. They could make new friends, right? And the thought was, okay, like-minded people just get along, right? And at first it was just about getting the people together. But then over time I realized, wow, I can really use this to complement my PR for work, and think about, okay, how can I make it really win-win for the people that are in this group, right, that are potential customers of a lot of my clients, right? I had one client, for example, who was an award-winning facialist and esthetician and beauty expert, and she wrote a book, and we got that book, in the New York Times and this and that. But I also invited my social club to events that we would do. So, there would be reporters there alongside people that were potential, customers of this client. And I was always thinking, how can I make it, in terms of events, how can I make it experiential? So in that case, for example, we worked with a local spa, and they were using some of her products. She was doing a book signing in the front. People were trying out products from trying out facials, laser treatments, like all kinds of fun treatments they got to try for free. They could buy stuff, it was very win-win. And we got a lot of press from that. We also did, worked with, I remember I had a shoe designer at one point. She had these like really cool, comfortable, futuristic, like beautiful shoes. She'd worked so hard on this. She was awesome. And when she launched her shoe line, I was like, these are works of art. Where can we showcase it that suggests that highlights that, right? We were inviting, fashion press, Women's Wear Daily, the fashion trades that cover shoes, all of that. So we found for her an art gallery. that hosted, that would host the event. And we had rented out this beautiful art gallery. We had a gorgeous display with these, plinths, like the shoes were displayed like art. There was a multimedia, like a really cool artsy video about the shoes. She was there to meet people, answer questions. We had wine. Like it was as if, you're going to a gallery show instead of, just a fashion type event. There's been so many over the years, but it's really thinking like how could it be fun? What's in it for the guests? What's in it for people? And even for the Fashion Week events, I do a lot. There would be for about 6 years, I did probably like I did, I would say 30, 25, 30 different fashion shows. So I do like at least two every season, and there were two fashion seasons a year. So it was really fun and a lot of hard work. And I'd have 400 maybe people that would come and attend events. And it was a mix, but I feature a lot of independent designers. Maybe I did a magazine launch at one of them, and they had designers that they brought from around the world. And then I also had there, like, before and during, after the event, there were people that were doing hairstyling and doing photo shoots, for the people attending, right? We had boudoir photo shoots. We had, really fun, a lot of fun
Totally love.
interactive pieces, so that the people attending felt like, they're the star of the show, right? Like they're the
Without hearing
model.
you direct.
Yeah.
I think we might have to try this again soon. Hopefully when I get my act together. Lee, you better get well. I need my production. You. But also afford not to have PR, right? You really I think it kind of oozes out of your marketing. It's like it should be an underlying marketing, with the marketing mirror, because everything you do reflects your business and brand. And to shape that, to hone it, and to own it, and to make sure that it works through the bad PR. I think that's, you need a professional like Marcy. That we should talk about, Marcy. Do you want to close it up with
Okay, it was coming in and out what you were saying at the end, but it was just to close out. Yeah, it was such a pleasure being here. And people can contact me. I love to do a 30-minute, 40-minute deep dive with them. And my message would be, you're more newsworthy than you know. Really, truly. So if you're not sure, I think I'd like to be in the PR. Do I have a story? Could I be a story? Contact me. Let's do a 30, 40-minute chat, and let's see, can we get you some great press? Because, chances are we can. And if there's something that I'm like, hey, you know what, do this first and then let's get started, I'll always be straight with you. So yeah. And I would also say it's a year-round endeavor. It's not a quick project. It's like a ongoing kind of thing to keep, growing and expanding, so that your voice is heard in all different segments of the market.
Marcy, you're fantastic. I apologize to everyone for my many glitches today with the audio video. I'm so glad that we at least got to see and talk to Marcy. She is just, like I say, absolutely fantastic. Oh, we have another comment here. I was so excited about doing the interview. That's right. Don't hold it against me. Thank you. Gizzy gives. But really, Marcy, I really appreciate it. We'll talk more real soon. I'm going to just do a quick close. I can't thank you enough. And we're going to definitely have to get together again because you have so many more things you can teach us. And like you said, like I said, I think in my intro script introducing you, that you really like to make it be a community feeling, a conversation like you mentioned earlier, and that, to press upon the point that we can all learn from each other. And I love that. I love that, guys. So thank you kindly, Marcy. We appreciate you having you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay, and I'm going to take Marcy away. Stay in the background, Marcy, if you will. Oh, maybe I lost her. Anyway, okay, I'm going to take her off. There she is. You guys, I am so sorry. This is so funny. I am. Oh, look, Lee's back. He's saying, Marcy, you rock. She really does. I was really excited about having Marcy. I'm so sorry I didn't get to do a lot more pre-promotion so a lot more people could see this, but we're going to keep promoting the heck out of it afterwards. We're going to try to get Marcy back when we have better circumstances. I didn't want to miss. I'm coming to you from wherever, and I really, really appreciate you guys being here. So I'm just going to give you a little quick sign off, and then look for the everything else. I know. It's been crazy. Thanks again, guys. See you next time on the Marketing Mirror. Hey guys, it's Sue Ann. I'm so happy to invite you to my new membership community called Inside the Marketing Mirror. Let's go a little deeper into digital. Let's learn and grow together. Let's, for the price of a cup of coffee a month, jump into this private studio for exclusive content, deeper dive learning, and surprise events. So come on in, my friends and colleagues, through my new Buy Me a Coffee membership. And whether you make the events or not live as a member, all the content will be available exclusively to you in the studio library. I can't wait to see you. Oh my